Welcome to DekuNews.net. I'm Jeremiah the Deku Scrub, and today there are huge international affairs we need to talk about. A party of Gerudo royalty has arrived in Hyrule Castle Town, along with breaking news from Zora's domain that is absolutely tragic and terrifying for the future of the Zora. Let's go now to our correspondent in Zora's domain, Zachary. Zach, what has transpired in Zora's domain?
Well, it appears that the Princess of the Zora, Ruto, has apparently been missing. We don't know where she went. As far as we know, she went to feed the guardian deity, the wonderful big fat fish, Jabu Jabu, and, never came home.
That is terrible news for the future of the Zora. What is the royal family doing about it?
Well, that's the thing, they're not doing anything. They're just feeding more fish to Jabu Jabu, even though Ruto is missing.
There you have it. Absolutely tragic news out of Zora's domain. Princess Ruto has gone missing, and Lord Jabu Jabu is still eating. We take you now to Hyrule Castle, where the Hyrule royalty is hosting the Gerudo King Ganondorf. We have an analyst here, Jim Bob, and he's gonna tell us what this could mean for the international politics of the world of Hyrule.
Actually, did you forget that my name is actually Bob? There's no Jim in there. Jim is someone else. Or Joe. But anyway, yes, so the King of Hyrule has hosted Ganondorf over, and I'm here right now. It's very interesting. They're basically just talking about stuff, and Ganondorf has actually pledged allegiance to the king, which is, kind of interesting. And they're, talks for a mutual, international defense treaty thing. So, that's cool.
That is huge news for both Hyrule and the Gerudo. The Gerudo have long been known as warriors and the most powerful race in the world, whereas the Hyruleans have been known to be wise and courageous, along with being ingenuitive. If the Gerudo and the Hylians would unite, that would be a force almost unstoppable. We wonder what King Ganondorf is actually after. Bob, what do you think?
I think that you're absolutely right about that, Jeremiah. It would definitely be an unstoppable force. However, after Ganondorf pledged his allegiance, there were some very strange looks in the Hyrulean court, particularly among the infamous Princess Zelda and her maiden, Impa. We don't know really what she's thinking, but she just may not be in agreement with her father about this. I don't know what to think.
Well, neither do I, but my job isn't to think, it's to ask you and your fellow reporters to think. I'm Jeremiah the Deku Scrub. Today's news was very international and huge, as the Princess of the Zora disappeared, and the Gerudo King visited Hyrule Castle for talks about an international defense treaty. In other news, the Gorons, for some reason, are complaining about starvation. They're saying that their main source of food has been blocked off by somebody or something, and that they cannot eat any other rocks. They can only eat rocks from the one cave. This is a developing story, and we'll get to you with more on it next time on DekuNews.net. Coming up, our Loreumentary with Jimothy Johnson.
Long have historians wondered, why is the Triforce 3 pieces surrounding nothing? Have we lost a piece over the ages? Well, recent findings have revealed that this is not the case. Instead, this Triforce arrangement, the way that it is created, is a metaphor for the entire world that we live in. When the Golden Goddesses created the land of Hyrule, they did not do this imaginative act for fun. Instead, these goddesses were seeking to imprison a great evil, as they do quite often. This evil was known as Null, the embodiment of nothingness. He is nothing, and yet at the same time seeks to devour everything, so that it will all be null. The Golden Goddesses knew they could not defeat Null on their own, so they just decided to trap him. They trapped him in one simple way. They created a cage out of everything. The entire world of Hyrule, everything we know, is built around Null. At least until one hero came along. He defeated Null with the help of Princess Zelda, who saved him from Null himself. After a long and arduous battle, Null was defeated by the hero. The land of Hyrule was set free from its constant rampaging and voids. You see, every so often Null would devour parts of Hyrule, trying to escape. But the goddesses had thought of this. They created the Tries, which repaired the land after Null ate it up. Now we are set free from Null, which is why the Tries are all but gone, and Null is nowhere to be found. The voids have disappeared, and are no longer to return. We live in a land of peace in Hyrule. Or, we will for a while, I suppose. The cycle will always continue.
Welcome back to the Milk Bar.
And today, I'm your host, Tyson.
Yeah, I
I'm
gave
actually
him his
Tyson.
mask back.
Yeah, he took the mask back.
I'm Judah Eyler, and we are drinking milk as always. Yep, just milk. Good old Nintendo milk.
Chateau Red Wine.
Yeah, at the Milk Bar
Straight from the ranch that was just under protection
by Link himself.
by Link. Yes, Link has protected the ranch. He's off doing stuff, which you probably heard in the news segment.
Well, in the news segment, that's a parallel dimension because they're talking about Ocarina of Time over at DekuNews.net. They're like 20 years ago.
They went to the Lost Woods.
Where? I don't even actually know where they are at this point. Because this is episode 3, so maybe they're like doing some temples? I don't know why.
I have
Hey,
no
Deku News guys, they're super intrepid. They're super cool, you know?
Mm-hmm.
We're not that. We're chill, laid back, milk enthusiasts. You know? We just love our milk. We like it simple. Unlike The Legend of Zelda, which is complicated. And today we're talking about one of those complications. Did Majora's Mask really happen?
Yes! Done. End episode here.
Actually, I disagree. It was all a dream. It was a traumatic event that Link, as a 12-year-old, had to process. He had to process everything.
Okay. Why don't we start some points? So why, or not start, I guess, just give me some points. Let's say top 3 points as to why you think, well, not top 3, but I mean just give me 3 points as to why you think that Termina or Majora's Mask is a dream that Link is having.
My main reasons is that Majora's Mask follows the cycle of grief, which we'll get into that deeper
Could that
later
not
in the episode.
just be
We'll get into that later in the episode. That's my first reason. It follows the cycle of grief. The second reason is that all of the characters in Majora's Mask are based on characters that Link met in real life. So, the third reason is that right now, Link has just gone through a traumatic event where he's lost his best friend, his only friend...
Ivan!
His only friend that actually remembered what he went through, because remember, at this point, Link has gone through all of Ocarina of Time, he went back in time, became a kid, hung out with Zelda for a few weeks, and then hightailed it out of there for some reason. So, now that he's lost everyone and everything he's ever known, that's pretty traumatic for a 12-year-old. Remember, this is a 12-year-old that was 12, and then he was 17, but he was still 12, and now he's 12, but he's still 12. But he also was 17 for a little bit. So that's where Link is at. That's Link's headspace. So I think that while Link is traveling the Lost Woods looking for Navi, who, remember, just left him,
Ivan,
for no reason, in his mind, that's a dark theory that we could get into at some point, maybe in a bonus episode. That's where Link is at this point in his life. As he travels the Lost Woods looking for Navi, every night he has this recurring dream. And in this recurring dream, he's in this different land for 3 days. And he does a bunch of stuff. Every dream is 3 days, and it recurs over and over again, and over and over again, and over and over again, until he finally comes to terms with everything that happened, and in his dream, saves the land of Termina from the moon. But in reality, it's just him, after 7 years of this recurring dream and traveling the Lost Woods, it's him finally coming to terms with what's happened and being at peace with it.
Okay.
So that's my argument. It took up 2 entire minutes. Can you beat 2 entire minutes of ranting from me with your 3 main points on why it really happened?
I can beat you by saying go back and listen to my theory of last week.
That theory was rigged because the theory of last week...
That theory was rigged.
I said at the beginning that we were going to assume that it really happened. This week, we ain't doing that. We ain't doing that. We laid back here, but I'm right and you're wrong, and you're going to tell me why you're wrong.
Why am I going to tell you why I'm wrong?
Because your reasons about you being right are really reasons for you being wrong. So go ahead. Go ahead.
This is why I don't own a podcast where you think you're always right. This is why I do useless stuff. So
speak up. I don't hear your arguments. Speak up.
So, using my Lost Woods theory, and major theory here. So, in Minish Cap, I'm going to use Minish Cap to basically root most of my theories. I spent a couple days recently looking through the Legend of Zelda Encyclopedia. You should definitely get it. I don't know how much it is. Get it anyway. That's our merch.
We're not sponsored by Nintendo or whoever
or
published
Dark Horse Comics.
Yeah, whoever published that. We're not sponsored by them.
No.
We just like them.
No, yeah, they're cool. So in Minish Cap, yeah, I was looking through and I found some stuff about the characters. There are a couple of characters that stuck out to me, considering I'm playing through Majora's Mask right now. It's sticking out to me and making me think, oh, I've seen this character, I've seen that character. So, this also, I didn't mention this last week, but it helped, or I guess last week, I don't know, release. We still don't know if the release is still working. But, made me think, what if the Lost Woods, the Skull Kid, the Termina was existing already by the time Link showed up. Because after Skull Kid stole Majora's Mask, he was created through his burdened heart and the evil magic within Majora's Mask. So it was essentially in a dream world, but also in some way a form of reality. So I'm not going to say you're wrong. It could very well be people can show up there and it can be a dream to them. It doesn't mean it can't be some form of reality. Because, like I've said, Tears of the Kingdom Breath of the Wild, as far as I know, canon. Majora's Mask, canon. How is a fierce deity mask or certain items, key items from Majora's Mask, a dream world in a canon real-world game. Also, in Minish Cap, so I'm going to use some of the characters here. There's Anju, who you may know as the Kuko lady, Kakariko Village, Ocarina of Time. She is basically the whole big side quest to do with her, Majora's Mask. She's kind of like a shopkeeper person in Minish Cap, and she had her own little life there. So if Skull Kid used... So here's another thing. In the time you turn to a Deku Scrub, Deku Buds.
Deku Buds.
In the time you turn into a Deku Scrub, I'm not going to say it again. The after the Ocarina is stolen, Skull Kid has ridden Epona, decided he doesn't like Epona, ditched Epona, and caused havoc all over Termina. So, another part, he used the Ocarina to go to different locations and do stuff. So he could have used the Ocarina, go back in timeline-wise to Minish Cap, grab, using the Lost Woods, or Minish Woods at that time, I guess, Anju, and many others, such as Tingle, and Gorman, and Dompe.
Hi, Gorman.
Yeah. You definitely weren't kidnapped here. And
Don't worry, I think you're just a figment of Link's imagination. Which, theoretically, if I believe my theory, we are a figment of Link's imagination.
We're a
How's
figment of the listener's imagination.
In some ways, yes. What were you saying? He kidnapped them.
One last point on that character. Jim, the leader of the bombers in Ocarina of Time, in Majora's Mask, and the Graveyard Boy in Ocarina of Time. Actually, 2 more points. So, could be, he is literally part of a big family cycle. He has parents, he has grandparents, and he has siblings. He was just a normal little kid, and he came in and stole, and Skull Kid came in and stole him, in my theory-wise. Yes, mental archives are cool. And my last thing is, you made a big point that they were just figments of Link imagination. Gorman. So, what if what we're seeing here is not figment of Link imagination, but Skull Kid has gone everywhere, seen all this stuff, also is living in the Lost Woods, which could connect to different lands, and thought, Majora's Mask, I want that person in my world. Poof. I want that person in my world. Poof. Now, a big example of this is the Malon. From LonLon Ranch. In Majora's Mask, Romani Ranch, there's Romani and Crimea. And that is because Skull Kid does not understand aging, having lived in the Lost Woods, Kokiri Village, or whatever. He thinks Romani and Crimea are 2 different people.
Yeah.
So he basically created those 2 people. So,
Alright.
can you beat? I beat your 2 minutes.
Yeah, you talked for like 6 minutes. That's kind of unfair. I'm going to rebuttal for a couple minutes, and then we'll give you 1 minute to rebuttal. Yeah, I'll rebuttal for 2, rebuttal for 1, and then we'll close out the milk bar. So, here's my 2. My turn. My turn. Okay, here we go. I get 1 minute and 40 seconds. So you said that part of the reason that you think it has to be real is because there are characters from Majora's Mask in other games, right? Well, I think that Majora's Mask, because it's Link's subconscious trying to tell him stuff, it's not just the conscious Link of Ocarina of Time, it's the memories of the spirit of the hero. So, Minish Cap, 4 Swords, those games, they come before Majora's Mask in a timeline, which means that the spirit of the hero went through those things, remembers those things, can make those stories. At the same time, talking about Romani and Malon, Link could be construed the same way, because he was 12, he skipped 5 years of his life, became 17, goes out. Malon's basically a different person because she's lived 5 years without him. She's changed, she's grown, whatever. So that also works as well for Link's imagination. As for the Skull Kid using the mask, Majora's Mask power to create this entire universe, Majora's Mask is powerful, but it's not as powerful as the 3 Golden Goddesses. It took 3 Golden Goddesses to create all of Hyrule. I don't think that the Majora's Mask by itself can create an entirely new universe. I'm running out of time here. Also, I think that the reason that those items are in there and they're also in real life is because Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom aren't part of the official timeline, and so they don't really count for this debate because they're not there. Like, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom aren't actually in the timeline, and so they can't be used in this argument because we don't know how they fit in the timeline anyway. If they were in the child timeline, that would be one thing, but they're not, so it's hard to figure out. 1 minute, go.
Okay, so one of the main things that caught me because I kind of dozed off listening to this complete rant of useless information.
I just I'm like, okay, sorry, I'm interrupting you. Your turn, go.
Is that you said Golden Goddesses. The Golden Goddesses are not at all in Majora's Mask. They have its own future. Its own past was built. In the future and past of Majora's Mask, Skull Kid always will and always has existed. And, quote unquote, the 4 giants are gods of the 4 realms and created a deity. Can you guess what his name is?
The fierce one?
Yeah.
And that's time.
Yes, and so, yeah, they created him and he's cool.
How do you feel? How do you feel about the debate?
I feel like listeners should agree with me because I'm right.
I feel like I did pretty well. I thought I did a good job of countering your points.
I will say you did a good job of countering my points.
Especially because you got to talk for longer.
I did get to talk for longer.
Because I didn't interrupt.
This is like the longest I've ever talked in any Milk Bar episode.
Yeah, this is gonna be like we're cutting this really tight. We've got 20 seconds to close out the episode at this point.
Okay, bye.
Thanks for listening this episode, this Milk Bar. Thanks for joining us in the Milk Bar. Us and Gorman. Kidnapped Gorman, Imagination Gorman. Thanks for joining us in the Milk Bar, drinking milk with us, chilling, chillaxing. We hope you liked the episode. We hope you subscribe to the Deku Buds podcast, and we will see you next time.